Hello everyone, I'm back, and today I'm going to show you how to solve for each rational equation and rational function, okay? It says here in letter C, solve for the value of each variable based on the given equations, then check your answer. So you know already what to do here. This is rational equations. So our job in rational equations is just the same objective to solve for the value of x, then check to see if it inputs there to solve for the solution. So let's get started. Like for example, in number 1, we have 6x plus 15 divided by negative 3 equals negative 1. So that one, we need to apply the PEMDAS rule. Actually, if you want to solve for the value of every function, you need to always apply LCD. Because since they're fractions, right? But actually, you can solve it in 3 ways. Either do it the LCD form, the cross multiplication form, or the algebra form. Let's do it the algebra form because this is kind of easy. To solve for the answer in algebra form, you know already the solutions like this. So let me write the solution for you. So ito ba yung solution na dapat sinabi ko sa iyo? So ang solution namin ay, di ba remember, sabi ko dito, this is 6x plus 15 all divided by negative 3 is equivalent to negative 1. Di ba? So what we do first in this situation, the first thing that we're gonna do is to multiply both sides by negative 3. So whatever I do, I use another colored pen to help me along. So we multiply this side by negative 3 and this side by negative 3. Take note, these negative 3's here cancel. So you're just left with 6x plus 15 is equivalent to positive 3. 1 times 3 is 3. Negative times negative is positive. And this one's very easy. The next one is to subtract 15 on both sides. And when doing so, what did you get? The answer that you get here is just 6x. On the other side, you get negative 12. Divide both sides by negative 6. X is equivalent to negative 2. So that's our answer. Now check to see if it's... Now check. So this is the solution sheet that I did last time. Ito yun. Nakita mo yung naka-violet. That's the one. The first thing that I did is 6x plus 15 divided by negative 3 equals negative 1. So ang ginawa ko dito, nag-LCD ako. I applied the LCD. So the LCD is negative 3, right? So multiplying the LCD, the denominators cancel. That's what you do in rational functions. You can also apply getting the LCD. Sometimes it may be hard for you to get the LCD, like what happened to me last time, but it's quite worth it, okay? So we tried multiplying both sides by negative 3, because we know the LCD is negative 3. Take note that's negative 1 over 1. Also, there's no 1 in the denominator because it's already implied to 1. But if you were to write it, that will be better. So we know the LCD is 1 times negative 3, which is negative 3. So negative 3 is our LCD. Then all the negative 3's cancel. Diba? And then what you just did lang is this, on this one. And on the right side, you multiply by negative 1. So you're left with this equation. 6x plus 15 equals 3. Then work the math. Subtract both sides so that you can get negative 12. Diba? And your answer is negative 2. Diba? Did we get that right? Now to check. To check your answer, 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. Negative 12 plus 15 equals positive 3. Positive 3 divided by negative 3, that's negative 1. Hence, it checks out. Correct. Next, number 2. For this problem, we have r squared minus 2r minus 80 all divided by negative 7 is equivalent to positive 8. Can you solve for the answer? Yes, you can. There are 2 ways on how you can solve it. It's either you apply the LCD or you can apply algebra. Actually, to me, I would rather apply algebra. And actually, to be honest, even if you were to get the LCD, you know that still, remember, you imagine that we have a 1 here, right? Meron tayong 1 dito. So to get the LCD, 8 over 1, to make the fraction even, what is the LCD of negative 7 and negative 1? Negative 7. So you multiply both sides by negative 7, and this is supposed to be negative 56. So that's supposed to be our answer. Negative 56 yan. Let me write it down on paper. And even if you were to cross multiply it, you will still get negative 56. So either way. Now let me show you how this is done. So ganito po kasi yun. Di ba remember, we have this one. R squared minus 2r minus 80 all divided by negative 7 is equivalent to positive 8. We multiply both sides, and we should get negative 56. So this one multiplies together. So we multiply negative 7 here and negative 7 here. Take note, these negative 7s cancel out. As you can see, ito yun. Yan, i-cancel out namin to. Tapos ito, multiply. Diba? So now we have r squared minus 2r minus 80 is equivalent to negative 56. It's just like what you did before. Hey, we end up with a quadratic equation. In order for you to do that, you have to shift your variable or your constant to the left side to set it equal to 0. So we need to add 56 to both sides in order for you to do that. Doing so will give you r squared minus 2r, and then negative 80 minus 56. What's the answer? Negative 24 equals 0. Now it's time to solve for the following. So remember the formula. What two numbers that you can do that yield to negative 2 and that multiply to give you positive negative 24. We know that r and r together. So we know that 6 and 4 make a good coherence to 24 for the two numbers that can be multiplied together to give you 24. And that add to give you negative 2. But wait, which one? Since we have negative as the product, we need to have one positive and one negative. So which is bigger? Since we know the negative 2 is higher, so the bigger should be the negative, and the smaller one should be the positive. To double check, r times r is r squared. Negative 6 times r, negative 6r. 4 times r, 4r. Combining like terms, you get negative 2r. Negative 6 times 4 equals 24. Negative 24. Now we have two solutions. It's either r is equivalent to positive 6 or r is equivalent to negative 4. Now check on your answer. Here's how I checked my answer here. Ito yung ginawa ko. I did the LCD of negative 7. So I multiplied by the LCD. Ang ginawa ko dito, I just used normal multiplication method. Inverse formulas. Diba? Now to check if x were negative 4. Negative 4 squared, that's equivalent to 16. Negative 2 times negative 4 is 8. Minus 80, that's supposed to be negative 56. All divided by negative 7, that yields positive 8. On the other hand, if we have positive 6, 36, 12, 24, yes, you will still get the same answer din. Tama, it still works. It checks out. Correct. Now that's the answer to our problem. Next, number 3, this could be a bit tricky. We have 2s squared plus 20s plus 50, all divided by 10, is equivalent to s plus 5 divided by 5. For this one, it's still easy for you to solve. And in this situation, all you can do instead is to just apply the concept of factoring and cross multiplication. Actually, what I would rather do here is I could do cross multiplication. And I think maybe because the left one is too big, so maybe what I would rather do is I would rather simplify and factor. Para mas madali, I can just factor that na lang. Because I can see, we can look at all the terms, 2s squared, 20s, and 50 makes up, can be factored out by the GCF of 2. So as you can see, ito yung solution na ginawa ko kanina. 2s squared plus 20s plus 50 is equivalent to 5s, s plus 5 all divided by 5. Yan, di ba? So I factor them out by the GCF. So I factor this out. Di ba, remember, this becomes 2 times s squared is 2s squared. 2 times 10 is 20s. 2 times 25 is 50. Tama? And I just multiplied it by the LCD. Multiplying both sides by 2 so that you can get the LCD. So the LCD is 10. Because 5 and 10, remember what's the LCD? Because your goal when you solve for rational equations, your goal is to get the LCD. And since they're just numbers, it's easy for you to get the LCD. And we know that the LCD is 10. So 10 times 10 cancels. Cancel out here. And then 5, cancel. So you're still left with 2. Because 10 divided by 5 is 2. Because your goal is to get rid of all the denominators. And this is what you end up. But before that, take a look at s squared plus 10s plus 25. Did you know that can be rewritten as the square of the two numbers? Like we have s plus 5 and s plus 5 din. Not minus, it's plus. Okay? So, di ba remember to double check, ganito siya. Di ba remember we have s squared plus 10s plus 25. Did you know we were to factor this out? We know what two numbers can multiply together is 25. Then add to give you positive 10. They're both positive. So positive times positive, 5s plus 5s equals 10s. And take note that these two, and then we can also factor this out. Pwede tayo mag-factor. Diba? Mag-factor out tayo ng ano yun. We can, and that's why nga sinabi ko dito, you can also apply factoring. Diba? So 2s5 and we have 2s5 on the other side. So to even this out, whatever is a duplicate, we divide that out. And that automatically cancels. And on the right side, it becomes 0. So s plus 5 equals 0. Now all we need to do is to just add negative side, 5 onto both sides. So s is equivalent to negative 5. Okay? Now to double check on your answer, ganito kasi yun. To double check on your answer, ganito kasi yun. I tried to do the solution sheet here, but it doesn't make any sense. Pero let's double check on it on this part. So diba remember, we have 2, and then this is negative 5 squared. Plus 20 times negative 5. Plus 50, all divided by 10. Let's work the math here. So to work the math here, we know that negative 5 squared is 25. Plus times 2 is 50. 20 times negative 5 becomes negative 100. And then plus 50, 50. Diba? All divided by 10. Adding up these numbers together, 50 plus 50 equals 100. 100 minus 100 is 0. So it becomes 0 over 10. On the other hand, we have negative 5 plus 5 divided by 5. Did you know that negative 5 plus positive 5 equals to 0 too? So they're even. And even if you were to divide those two numbers together, you still get the right answer, which is 0. So this checks. Now, if I were to do the multiplication method, if I were to do cross multiplication, pwede pa rin. But the problem is you will end up with a very big number. So therefore, if you were to do that, you will have 10s plus 5 equals to this one, diba? You'll be stuck with this type of crazy equation. And then you have to apply distributive methods. So this becomes 10s plus 50, diba? And then you can factor this out. 5 times 2 times s squared plus 10s was 25. Diba? And take note, para hindi magulo, you can do this. 5 times 2 is 10. Equals 10. And then this can be written as the square of two numbers. S plus 5, S plus 5. Diba? So yan. And then if you were to distribute the 10 to one of it, you will have 10s plus 50 is equivalent to 10s plus 50 din. Then multiplied by s plus 5. These two will cancel together. 10s plus 50, they cancel. So goodbye. And you're still left with s plus 5. It's just that you will have a lot of complex equations here. But it would be better if you would just apply factoring to make your life easier. Because our goal for mathematicians, they always want to simplify it to the lowest terms. Para hindi sila mahirapan. Okay? Next, let's go on to number 4. In number 4, this one's a bit cheap. This one's the real challenge. We have 3j plus 5 all divided by j. Diba? 3j plus 5. But actually, to be honest, there's also another answer that you can get. Pero never mind. At least naman that's still the right answer din. Okay? Three j plus 5 and all divided by j plus 6 over 6 divided by j equals negative 3. Now, this is already the real challenge. This is already the time when the real LCD must be implied. So how do you solve for the value of x? How do you solve for x? How do you solve for j? Let's write the equation and see how we're gonna do it. Okay, so the equation goes like this. We have, ano yun? Let me put it down for you para hindi mahirapan. So yan, we have 3j, diba? Tama ba? Plus 5. All divided by j. Tama? Plus 6 over 6 over j is equivalent to negative 3. Now, if you look at this equation here, what do you think is the LCD? The LCD is 6j. How can you tell that it's 6 and j? Ganito kasi yun. First, for numbers that do not have denominator, let's also put 1. Then look at these three numbers together to determine what is your LCD. Of course, you can multiply 6 and j together. But take note, if you were to list down all the factors, j is just j itself. 6 and j can be multiplied. And for 1 can be multiplied all by itself. You just need to multiply by 6j to give you 6j. So therefore, the answer is 6j. Ang LCD namin ay, tingin mo to, LCD equals 6j. Now, let's multiply everything by 6j. So, ganito kasi yun. Doing that, so remember we have 6j here. It will be multiplied to negative 3. Multiplying this side by 6j, the j's will cancel. Goodbye, j. So, you're just gonna be left with 6. On the other hand, on the center stage, yung 6j dito, goodbye both 6j's. So, let's work the math. 6 times 3j is 18. 18j. Diba? Plus 5. And then this one cancels out, but it's still 6 because we cross out the denominator. And then negative 3 times 6j is equivalent to negative 18j. Diba? So that's exactly what will happen here. So now we've already crossed out all the denominators. We've already gotten rid of all the denominators. Now all we need to do is to combine like terms. So 5 and 6, wait a second. This one's supposed to be 30. Ito dapat 30. Kasi nga diba remember, 18j times 6j times 5. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 5 is 30. So therefore, don't get mistaken. And now we have 18j plus 30 plus 6 equals negative 18j. Now we try to do this. Combine like terms. Plus 36 is equivalent to negative 18j. Take note, ang gawin namin, we need to add negative 18j to both sides of the equation para to make it stabilize. And then all we have now is 36 is equivalent to negative 36j. Dividing both sides by negative 36. Then j, ganito siya, di ba? Dividing both sides by negative 36. Therefore, j is equivalent to negative 1. Tama? Now, let's input this back into the equation to verify if this is true. So, di ba remember, we have 3j, di ba? 3 times negative 1 plus 5, all divided by negative 1. Di ba? What's the answer here? 3 times negative 1 becomes negative 3. Negative 3 plus 5 equals 2. So 2 divided by negative 1 equals negative 2. But don't forget, we still have 6 all divided by 6 times negative j, which is 6 divided by negative 6. And that is negative 1. So plus 1 equals negative 3. So negative 2 plus negative 1 equals negative 3. Correct. That's the answer that we got here. As you can see in my solution sheet here, ito po yung ginawa ko. Although you can't see the color because it's yellow. So yun ang ginawa ko, di ba? Our LCD is 6j. And then we multiply everything. Then we add combined like terms. I subtract both sides by negative 18j. And we got the answer of negative 1. J is equivalent to negative 1. Then we input that to the equation. You should get something like this, diba? So yan, and that's the answer. So therefore, the correct answer is this, negative 1. The next one is a bit of a tough problem. It says here we have the numbers 10 times 4 divided by y plus 5 in one group minus the fraction of positive 2 divided by negative y minus 8 is equivalent to this factor. 3 times y minus 5 and then all divided by y squared minus 3y equals negative 40. This one's a bit tough to find the LCD. So, to find the LCD when it comes to this situation, lalo na of course when you have a quadratic equation, what do? See if you can find the quadratic equation if that can be factored out. So that can be easier to solve for the LCD. Or you can just multiply the two binomial terms. Or better yet, what you can do na lang to the quadratic equation is that you can factor that out. Para hindi kayo mahirapan. Kasi nga diba remember, if you can factor out the quadratic equation, you should be able to find out what the value is or what the LCD is. But before that, let's simplify all the multiplicants, because sometimes this might get too complexified. So let's multiply 10 times 4. We know the equation goes like this, diba? Let me write it for you. So the equation in item number 25, so the item in number 25 goes like this, diba? We have, on the left side, we have 10 times 4. 10 times 4 over 10 times 4 over y plus 5. Tama? Can you see what I'm doing here? So yan. And then we have minus 2y minus 8. Tama? On the equal sign, we have 3y minus 5 is equivalent to y squared 3y minus 40. Tama? Can you see what I'm doing here? Can you see what I'm doing? Yan. So what you can do muna, you can just multiply the terms. So this one becomes 40. Let me zoom out a little bit para makita mo. Plus y plus 5. And then this becomes 2y minus 8. And then that becomes equals, what's this? 3 times y minus 5. 3y minus 15. Diba? All over y squared minus 3y minus 40. Now, just like what I said, when you go to the right, you need to factor out that equation. Remember, we have a quadratic equation right over here. So yan, we have y squared minus 3y minus 40. Take note, you can factor out that number. You can factor out that quadratic equation. And why would you factor out that quadratic equation? The reason why you need to factor out that quadratic equation, it's because you need to factor out the number. Factoring it out. So we need to factor y squared minus 3y and 40. How do we do that? Same rules. Let's work over here. Ganito kasi yung mangyayari. Diba remember we have y, and we know the equation y squared minus 3y minus 40. Tama? We are supposed to get that equation. Again, the same rule implies what two numbers that you can multiply that yield to negative 40 and at the same time that add to give you 3. I know compatible 8 times 5 gives me 40. And at the same time, it adds up to 3. They make good coherent numbers. Pero which one? We know that negative 40 is negative, so therefore one of them should be positive and one of them must be negative. However, look at the B. It's supposed to be negative 3. So which one must be higher? Get the higher one, right? Negative 8. So always remember the higher is the one with the required sign. That's negative 8. So to double check, y times y is y squared. Negative 8 times y, negative 8y. Plus 5y, combined like terms, you get negative 3y. Negative 8 times 5 equals 40. So tama, sometimes, if you want to find the LCD of a certain number, or for a certain rational function, you need to divide that by factoring. You can factor out. Now going back to our equation here. So what is our LCD? Our LCD is y minus 8 and y times 5. Let me write it for you. So diba remember we have this, y plus 5, y minus 8. Diba? Here we have y minus 5, y plus 5, y minus 8. Here we have y plus 5 and y minus 8. Okay? Can you see what I'm doing? You better be, okay? Take note, this one can be simplified to y minus 8 and y plus 5. So therefore this one, goodbye. Cancels out. Now let's check here. Double check on this area. We have y plus 5 and y plus 5, double goodbye. So this one cancels. And then we have y minus 8 cancelled in. So goodbye to those. So now we simplify. Y minus 8 times 40 is equivalent to 40y and then negative 360. So this is our answer. We distribute and we have 40y minus 320. That's our answer on the left. And then goodbye y minus 8. 2 times y is 2y minus 2y plus 10. Okay? All equivalent, and it's all equivalent to the function of 3y minus 15. Okay? Can you see what I'm doing? Yes, and it should be like that way. The next step is to combine like terms. We have 40y minus 2y. That becomes 38y. The one that I highlight in blue, those are the terms you have to combine. So we have negative 38y minus 320 plus 10 is equivalent to 3y minus 15. Combining these again, we should get 38y minus 310 is equivalent to 3y minus 15. Now we have a variable on both sides of the equation. So what we do now, interchange them both. Bring 3y to the other side, we have 38y minus 3y. If it's positive onto the right, if you shift it to the left, it becomes negative. At the same time, yung 310, if it's negative, we have to make that positive. So we have 310 minus 15. Tama? Teka. Ayaw pala, that's supposed to be negative pala. Kasi what do you remember, this one we multiply by the LCD. So that's supposed to be negative 2 pala. Even though there's a minus here, we already know we have to distribute the minus to the factor. So dapat that becomes negative 2y, and that becomes negative 10. Hindi siya positive. I'm so sorry. Kaya whenever you do rational equations, always double check on your answer. So dapat this should be negative 330 pala. Tapos yung 330 ship mo dito. So therefore, you have 35y is equivalent to 315. Dividing both sides by 35, we should get this answer. We should get divided by 35 equals 1. And 315 divided by 35, that becomes 7. Let's double check. 35 times 7, 15. 35, 7 times 3. Take it, that's 9. 5, 45. 9 times 3, 27, 31. So tama, the answer is 9. So therefore, the answer for this equation is 9. 9 must be the answer. So let's double check. To do the solution sheet, ganito kasi yung ginawa ko. Ang ginawa ko with the solution sheet is this. First, I get the LCD, y plus 5, y minus 8. And then they cancel, divide to yun. Y plus 5 cancel from the 40 and the y minus 8, diba? So I multiply this one. And then this one on the right side, this becomes, ano yun? Negative 2. So that becomes negative. Negative 2, y plus 5. Then I just distribute, apply distribution property. So I distribute also the negatives 2. Negative 2y, that becomes negative 10. Equals 3y minus 15. And then combining like terms, I should get something like this. So I shift this 3y to the other side and everything to the right side. So we should get this answer. And the y should be 9. To double check, let's do this. So remember, we have 10 times 4, which gives you 40. 9 plus 5 equals 14. 40 divided by 14. And then this becomes 1. Diba? So ito yung dapat sagot namin. Then we apply the LCD. So we can get for the answer. Diba? But 40 over 14 can be simplified to 20 over 7. And then we have 2 over 1. So I try to apply LCD and we got 14 over 7. So it becomes negative 6 over 7, which is the answer. On the other hand, remember we have 3 times y minus 5. So this is 3 minus 9 minus 5, which is 4. Multiply that, you get 12. On the base, we have 9 squared, which is 81. This becomes negative 27 minus 40. So 81 minus 40 equals 31. 31. The negative 41. 81 minus 27 equals, ano yun? Actually, it becomes negative 67. So tama, that becomes negative 12 over 7, which is negative 67. So this still checks out. So yun lang. So that's how you do the math here.